Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel, I'm for Classic and welcome to Benchart. So for today what I do have in it is GhostRunner 2, the demo version. So I'm running this on my Xbox Series S. You have three different modes which you can choose from. You have the default, which is the performance mode, you have the quality mode and the frame rate mode. So the performance mode, the default one, it targets 60 frames per second and it does an excellent job nailing them. You will never notice a drop below of 60 frames per second aside from cinematic stuff like a cutscene or anything like that. If you get to a cutscene you can notice some drops below 60, but during all the gameplay moments the game it is delivering 60 frames per second, locked down, no issues whatsoever. There is always a stutter or two when it comes to auto-saving, but they are very small and very rare, so it's a very silky smooth experience and it's excellent in that sense. Then you have a quality mode, which I was expecting to have a 30 frames per second locked, but it's not really the case. The quality mode runs at 60 frames per second, but it drops very often to 50s, 40s, or probably sometimes even lower. I don't really know. I will leave that analysis to more specialized YouTube channels that have all the, all the equipment to do all that kind of stuff. But it's not locked to 30, it's a variable refresh rate with a maximum of 60. Probably if you have a variable refresh rate screen, you can play on quality mode without notice too much of a difference regarding the drops in frame rate. But since I don't have those screens or that monitor, well, in that sense I don't think that it is a very good experience, but to each of its own. And then you have a high refresh rate mode, which is for TVs and screens with 120 Hz refresh rate, and that I have. I have a TV that supports that at 1080p, and I experienced a little bit of the game with that. And yes, I'm not really sure which frame rate it delivers, if it is above 60, 70, 80, 90. I have no idea, but it was silky smooth. The only issue is that the graphics were very close to the performance mode, but the big difference was resolution. It was really bad resolution. It's noticeable that they are using FSR2 to upscale, and since the resolution is so low, there are really a lot of artifacts going on from the FSR2. So it's a really rough experience in there, but at least you have an option, and it's a very rare option on the Series S, so it's nice to have anyway. Now, what's the difference between them? So aside from performance, what are the differences in graphics quality? So I'm very disappointed with something in here. First of all, it's the lack of screen space reflections. You don't get screen space reflections in any of the settings on the Series S. Whatever, if you go with quality, performance, high frame rate mode, you don't get screen space reflections. And let me tell you, that makes a huge difference, because we are just having these fake cube maps going on, while the Xbox Series X, I mean the bigger brother on the PS5, they get those reflections, which makes a tremendous difference to the visual presentation. So it's a huge downgrade in that sense. For PC players, you need to play on high settings, or at least the visual quality, visual effects on high settings to get those reflections. If the PC player plays at medium or low, they also don't get screen space reflections. But also PC, they also do support ray tracing. But on the Series S, you just get like these cube maps that you are seeing over here. So this is really old technique in here. But the interesting part is that even on PC, if I use these screen space reflections, obviously there is an impact in performance, but it's not as big as I was expecting. So I would prefer to have those reflections and have a lower resolution than not having them at all. But it's a console, you can choose, of course. Yeah, right. Now, other differences that I've noticed is that in performance mode, you don't get too much volumetric lights, alright? While in quality mode, you can notice some of them. You can notice that on the comparison in the end of the video. There is a timestamp there that shows you a difference in volumetric lights in one of the spots of the game. Aside from volumetric lighting and aside from reflections, other big difference that I've noticed, it was shadow quality. Shadow quality on the Series S is awful. It's something that I'm surprised because how bad it is. All right, it's just a pixelation mess. There is no filter shadows, nothing is filtered. It's just rough squares. All right, you are not seeing it because, well, you know, this type of game you don't really have shadows, but there is a moment in the demo version where you get a motorcycle, and yes, you are able to drive one, and your character is passing his hands above of the motorcycle and everything, and you get a lot of squares and stuff like that. But what's interesting is that on quality mode, at least on the main menu, there are some shadows, and you can notice a difference in shadow quality in between performance mode and quality mode. And quality mode shadow seems to be okay. Although during this demo version, inside the gameplay moments, shadow quality, whatever if it was in quality mode or whatever if it was in performance mode, shadow quality was awful. I'm not really sure why this is happening. I believe they decided to go with this very low resolution shadows without filtering, probably to save on memory, which is curiously of the Xbox series. Aside from the low powered components, lack of memory is one of the issues with this console, and probably they needed to save memory, and they decided to cut off on the shadow quality instead of the textures. And probably it was an intelligent move, because as you can see, there is barely any shadows in here, any dynamic shadows, so you don't see any pixelation going on. And the moments you see shadows like that, probably they are rare, at least on the demo. So they decide to probably cut off on the shadow quality instead of textures. Now, comparing to PC, PC only offers these options like off, medium, high, and ultra. And off, obviously, you don't have any shadows, and medium, the shadows are much better than what is offered on the Xbox Series S. So Series S is having really bad shadows, unfortunately. It's the three downgrades that I've noticed is really volumetrics, which doesn't make too much of a difference to me. Shadow quality, it is distracting as hell when it happens. And, well, reflections, it's just sad we don't have them. Still, this is the demo version. I'm not sure if the full game will get any improvement. I will let you know on the description of the video. But it is what it is. Anyway, the Xbox Series S is delivering what it promises. It's a low-powered console that it is able to run next-generation games, and it is doing it none of the less at 60 frames per second, sometimes even more if you go with this High-Framerate Mode. So it's fulfilling its promise. Alright, there are cuts and everything, but it's running games. GhostRunner 2 is not available on PS4 or Xbox One, so despite all these cuts and stuff like that, Xbox Series S, it is able to run it none of the less. So it's a huge victory for anyone that wanted to play this game and have an Xbox Series S none of the less. So with this, I don't want to talk more about GhostRunner 2. I think I covered the points that I've noticed the most in this demo. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video. By the end of the video, there will be a small comparison in between 3 spots that I've noticed the biggest differences, like the volumetric lights, like the shadows. You know, that's where I've noticed the biggest differences. I mean, aside from that, it's just resolution that I've noticed the difference. Of course, Digital Foundry, I'm pretty sure they can pinpoint much more differences. They analyze things with the eagle eye, but I'm more like a casual gamer, and this was the differences that I've noticed immediately. Alright, so guys, that's all that I want to talk about GhostRunner 2. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Let's hope they've got something we can use in there.
And if they don't?
Then all we can do is hope that Kira tracks down Mitra's signal.
That didn't sound confident at all. I'm hurt.
Kira, what are you doing on this channel?
I keep an eye on all of our channels, just in case.
They aren't our channels, not the encrypted ones.
Fine. I'm leaving.
God, I hate her.
Now that's just mean.
Get out! Jeez, where did they learn start to move like that?
I think you know.
Right. Expected. Think where this must have been.
Sorry to interrupt your bonding time, but it's kind of urgent. I've tracked down Mietra's signal, but it's almost out of range.
Is it ready?
I've unlocked the ignition, but
Good.
you have no idea how to... What I expected. Think where this must have been.
Sorry to interrupt your bonding time, but it's kind of urgent. I've tracked down Mietra's signal, but it's almost out of range.
Is it ready?
I've unlocked the ignition, but
Good.